Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Let's get this over this away just a little bit. Got a rifle here. I've done a thing about this rifle before, but I thought I'd do another one because I didn't get all the facts quite squared away, and I learned a few things since then. I've been reading some books. This is Japanese Rifles of World War II by Duncan McCollum. This is Ian McCollum's dad. He is a collector of Japanese rifles, and so he did a book on them. And this one is called Military Rifles of Japan, 1897 to 1945. And it's a bit of a rarity. Finding it these days is just nigh unto impossible. When was it published? I forget. Let's see, published 1977. It's not that long ago, but long enough that the pages are getting yellowed. But it's really the comprehensive books on Japanese rifles. Well, what about Japanese rifles? Up until, World War II, Japanese were using the Type 38 Arisaka. The Type 38 was a 6.5 millimeter regular sort of rifle. Now, in most cases, 6.5 is a pretty good round, but in this particular case, they also had a 7.7 millimeter that they were using in their main machine gun, and their engineers and thinkers decided that they ought to just switch over to 7.7 for everything. So they got together and decided to update the 38. And they basically used it as a model and came up with this. And this is called the Model 99. And it's the 99th year of the Meiji era. That is since they kicked out the shogun and put the emperor in. So that's the way Japanese used to count things. Probably still do when Westerners aren't around. But anyway, what's interesting about this one is this was not a battlefield pickup. This was your typical duffel bag collectible by some GI who was over there. And how do I know that? Well, mainly because it doesn't have a mum. The mum, or chrysanthemum, is a symbol of property of the emperor. And no Japanese soldier worth his salt would touch that symbol, because that symbol on every rifle meant that it was property of the imperial house. Well, when they're wandering around in the jungle and fighting against the Allies, the Japanese would, if they were shot or killed, they would drop the rifle. And what the heck's going on with this? Oh, it's okay. Batteries, cameras. Anyway, there's a tale. Well, first of all, the mums, if you see a mum on one, that means it's a battlefield pickup. If you see it ground off like this, that means that it's after the armistice when the Japanese surrendered. And MacArthur agreed that as a sign of respect for the imperial house, they would grind this off of every rifle that had been turned in. Well, a lot of guys wanted to bring home a rifle as their souvenir. So they would grab one, and they would take it aboard the ship, and when they're standing there, the guy in charge would say, everybody's got a rifle, stand over here. Okay, now you, take your rifle, give it to the quartermaster over here. And the quartermaster would take the rifle, he'd pull the bolt out, let's see, pull the trigger as I recall, and then, pull this Mauser gizmo down. Take the bolt, throw it over there, take the rifle, throw it over there. So very few of these without a mum have a matching bolt and rifle. This is very similar to what they did with the K98Ks in Germany. One difference about these things, though, they have this. This is called a dust cover. And it was meant to keep crud and refuse out of the action. This one did not have one, and that was quite common. When they pulled off these bolts and threw them in a pile over here, this came off, and it usually got tossed overboard. So the legend is that those were thrown away by the Japanese soldiers because when they ran the bolt in the jungle, it made a noise, you know, a tink, 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 tink's noise when they did that. Well, that's not true. Or they lost it, or lost their come now. I've got to figure out how to do this. Let's see, like that, and do that. Oh, come on, be nice. Okay, do that. It was when that quartermaster threw them away that they ended up with a problem, or ended up going away. Well, a Japanese would look at that and think, this is the property of the emperor, and no way am I going to get rid of that. So that didn't happen. No way would that happen. But as you can tell, it has a problem if you don't get it on right, and it makes a lot of noise. So yes, that is a problem, and we used it to our advantage to find hiding Japanese in the jungles. But if you know what you're doing, which I obviously don't, you can get these on pretty well. Well, I'll work on it later. But anyway, that's the dust cover. Now the thing is, I didn't have a dust cover for this. I ordered that from Sarco. Sarco's a surplus dealer. Usually when you have a military surplus rifle, you can get parts from Sarco for it. Well, the same thing is true with the Japanese Arisaka, but they can't find the originals because they're kind of rare. So they made those are American made, but they match the Arisaka perfectly. The other thing that this particular rifle had was a monopod. And the monopod, oh, where did it hang out? I can never remember. Oh yeah, there's a hole right here, and it bolts through right here, and it would fold up and then come down, and you could use it to hold the thing steady. The other thing these had that's really interesting is the reverse sight. It has these little wings for sighting in airplanes. This was great when they were in China because, you know, they were using monoplanes or biplanes, old style, so you could lead it like you would a duck when you were shooting at it, and you could shoot the plane. Not so much with a Mustang or a P-38 or any of the modern planes. They're just going too dang fast. But no, they kept making those anyway. Arisaka was made a pretty nice rifle early in the war. By the end of it, they came up with what they call last ditch, which were roughly cut, roughly made, terrible looking rifles. I've got one up there. It's also been sporterized, and I don't know why somebody bothered to sporterize the thing, because it's just not worth it. It's a piece of junk. But I got it because of historical, you know, just having a historical copy of one. I also have a Type 38, because why not? Also, my Type 38 does not have a mum, because it was made in a Chinese armory. It's kind of weird, but it's marked Type 38 in Japanese on it, but it's also marked with a Chinese armory logo on it. And I've got a book on that stuff too. So I think that might have been post-war. I don't know. But anyway, this is the Type 99, and it's an interesting example of it. I've got a few rounds of 7.7 Arisaka I could fire through this thing. By the way, this is one of the most one of the strongest actions ever developed for a rifle. As I recall, they tried all kinds of things to blow these up, and they never did. They, that is, our arsenals went through them and tried to see what they could do to make them go kaboom, and they just couldn't. Yes, you could with a last ditch, especially if it was a training rifle made out of mild steel, which they also made. But they were for they would shoot blanks, and they were for training guys in how to march and do parade with a rifle. Most armies have those, and unfortunately, a lot of the guys grabbed those when they were looking for a good rifle for a souvenir. They got snookered, and later on, they might have gotten injured or killed because they started firing stuff through them. Anyway, Japanese Arisaka Type or Model 99. It's an interesting rifle, and I'm glad I finally got a dust cover for it. Happy trails.